Welcome everyone to the Forgotten Sons official release. I'm so excited that this day has finally arrived and I can share the novel with you all. The Forgotten Son has been on quite a journey to get here, which I'll share in just a moment. But for those who don't know, my name is Colette Thomas. I am the author of The Forgotten Son. I'm also a television producer and a filmmaker. And I grew up in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and I was raised by my grandparents. And my grandfather, Neil John, was a Gaelic singer and storyteller. And I grew up listening to all of these stories that he used to tell, based in the Celtic and Gaelic mythology, stories of the fairies, of the water horses, talking animals, these epic grand adventures, comical little narratives, you name it, he had them. And I used to love listening to them as I was growing up. And The Forgotten Son is very much inspired by those same stories he used to tell. And the idea for The Forgotten Son first came to me about 2 years after he passed away. I was just about ready to fall asleep one night, and all of a sudden the characters of Tristan and Katrina and Morak and all of the rest of them just started coming into my head. And as most writers do, they immediately have to write that down because, you know, by the morning I probably would have forgotten it. So I didn't get much sleep that first night. So I spent the night writing out these characters and trying to dig into what this story was, and I kind of wrote my bases, but it kind of stuck around with me. And so I really wanted to find out what this story was, and I began writing. And I very much was kind of a passion project that I did a lot to help pass time, because at the time I was working as an actor. And if you've ever been on a film set or a television set, especially if you're in front of the camera, you know there's a whole lot of hurry up and wait. Besides learning your lines, you have a lot of time to pass. Basically, you would be reading or doing some craft or something to help pass the time, because it could be hours between your scenes, or even just turning around the scene that you're doing so you can get it shot from a different angle. And so I used to do this a lot. I used to write The Forgotten Son, and I started taking these characters and telling their story. And that's what The Forgotten Son is. It's an 18th century Scotland fantasy novel, and it's filled with Celtic mythology, the Gaelic mythology, with some of these same types of creatures and characters that my grandfather shared in some of his stories. So this book is dedicated to him because he very much inspired this book. And if it wasn't for his love of his culture and the language and sharing that with me, this book probably would never have happened. So thank you, Papa. So I'm about to go do some excerpts now, read some excerpts of the book. But if you're looking to purchase the book, which I would love if you did, the links will be down below in the description box. There are links for Amazon. It is available on Amazon, on all marketplaces that Amazon has. I will have the links for the three main ones, the Canada, US, and the UK link. So you can just click on and purchase if you so wish. I do have a few on hand. So if you want a signed copy, it's going to have to go in first come, first served basis. But if you'd like a signed copy, leave me a message here on the Forgotten Son page, a personal message. I will get back to you in the order that I received them, and we can go from there in terms of how we can process payments and the extra shipping cost it would be to get to you. So I'm also currently live down in the comments. You'll see me there as Forgotten Son. So you can ask me any questions you so wish about the book, about some of the characters, anything like that. Yeah, feel free to ask me anything down there. I will be down in there live in the comments. and you can ask me anything. And so, without further ado, here's some excerpts from The Forgotten Son. Do you have any idea how good you look? Katrina giggled. She felt her cheeks flush at her admission. A week had passed since they were at the brook, a week since Tristan revealed to Katrina what he was, a week of bliss as far as Katrina was concerned, a week that was coming to an end as Tristan came to say goodbye before he made his way to Falkirk. It was early morning, just breaking dawn, when Katrina grabbed her shawl and wrapped it around her shoulders against the damp chill of the air that met her, as she slipped away from the house, leaving her sleeping father blissfully unaware of her departure. The sun was no more than a faint glow from the east, casting little light across the moor that was still cloaked heavily in a dense fog as she scurried through. She shivered against the thought of any creature that may be lurking in it. She arrived to find Tristan standing with his back to her next to the large oak tree. He was looking out over the brook, clad in his belted plaid, which was draped over his linen shirt and fastened at his left shoulder. She had never seen him wear it, and she was taken aback at the sight before her. His long muscular legs, bare from the knee down, were exposed to the elements. With his broadsword secured at his side, he was nothing more than a silhouette in the dim light, looking as if he would vanish as the sun rose. Katrina couldn't take her eyes off him. She was still staring at him when he turned at her words.
I did not know you held such high regard for my backside, Agrai,
he said, opening his arms to her as she walked over to him, wrapping her arms around him and resting her face against his chest, breathing him in. Linen mixed with his own intoxicating scent. She sighed.
I will have to commit that to memory.
He smiled into her hair as he placed a kiss on the top of her head. Katrina, smiling, looked up at him, and reaching up on her toes, she placed a tender kiss against his inviting lips. It is you I hold a high regard for. Your backside is only a part of it. He snorted.
You are something else, Agrai,
he said, drawing her back to him, holding her tighter to him.
I wish I could take you with me.
Do you really have to go? She asked into his chest.
Aye, it's that time of year. The cattle cannot make their way to Falkirk on their own.
But you are not the only one going. There are many going. Even my father is going with the cattle from Clan Mackenzie.
Aye, he may be, but many hands will be needed to guard against raiding along the way.
The morning came in a shower of rain. Tristan sat with his group around the remains of their fire. He turned a lump of cheese over in his hands as he chewed on a mouthful of bannock. A straggly, dark-haired man handed him a flask, his face hidden almost completely by a beard and hair that fell in his eyes.
Have a drink of that, Tristan, lad. That will keep the chill from your bones.
He took the flask gladly, putting it to his mouth. The whiskey burned as it slid down his throat, but almost immediately in its wake, warmth filled him.
You're much like your father, when he was your age. Do you know that, laddie?
The man said, eyeing him. Tristan smirked at the comparison.
You knew my father?
Aye, I knew him since we were naught but lads ourselves.
They were quiet. Tristan stared down at the lump of cheese that he had absent-mindedly ground between his thumb and forefinger.
I was there, you know, at Culloden,
the man said quietly. Tristan kept his eyes downward, grinding the cheese into the palm of his hand.
I was there when he died.
Tristan looked up at him.
You are much like him,
he continued. Tristan shrugged, looking back down at his hand.
I do not think that I am so.
I are. You have his mannerisms. You have his spirit. I'm Angus,
he said, offering his hand. Tristan smiled, shaking it.
Everyone, out!
A shout came from across the sea of cattle.
I will have no of that,
he yelled, more at the raiders than Tristan.
Leave it to me, lad. I'll have them sorted out before they realize what's happened.
In a fury, Angus whipped around and withdrew his sword again and barreled through the chaos of the battle in search of his horse. Tristan glanced around in search of his own. He saw him on the edge of the fray, rearing back against one of the raiders that tried to control it and take it. He saw the front hooves kick out, knocking the man to the ground. The horse started to bolt for safety, and Tristan quickly stuck 2 fingers between his lips and let out a high-pitched whistle that rose above the noise of the battle. His horse stopped dead in its tracks and turned towards the sound.
Hikanu Agilia, ha operak in Ayanov.
I hope you enjoyed a little bit there of The Forgotten Son. I hope we could bring just a little bit of the characters to life for you. For the Gaelic that's used in the book, don't worry if you do not speak the language. I have it completely translated at the back for you in the order that it appears in the novel. So never fear if you do not speak Gaelic. The book is in English. It's 99% at least or more in English. I just use Gaelic a little bit throughout the book, and I do have the complete translation at the back so you know exactly what has been said. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any few remainder questions, quickly you can ask me them down below. The links to buy the book from Amazon, as I said, is here in this description box, as well as on the page for the main three, the Canada, US, and UK marketplaces. But it should be available in all Amazon marketplaces throughout the world. It'll be available in a few select bookstores. If you want your local bookstore to get it in, please reach out to them and they can contact me to get a copy, or go through their distributors because they can do that as well. And as I said, I do have some copies on hand now, so if you would like a signed copy from me, please send me a message here on the Forgotten Son Facebook page and I will get back to you in the order that they come in, and we can go from there in terms of getting this book to you. So thank you so much again. I hope you enjoy the novel, and Papa Morantang Ersan Ahularut.